Hi everyone, this is Sharina Ankhi-Krol from Ankhi-Krol Law. As you know, I started this series to bring forth people who have been affected in real life from COVID-19, and I've been talking to various entrepreneurs throughout this series. This will probably be our last episode of this series, which is episode number 8. And today, to wrap this all up, I have a very, very interesting guest who I met a few years ago when I was speaking at a fashion expo on the topic of brand protection. So this is Liz. Hi, Liz.
Hello, how are you?
And Liz is here actually joining us from India, believe it or not. She has moved to India 4 years ago, about 4 years ago. I'll let her introduce herself in a second. But I thought it was a really cool way for me to bring forward someone who has been affected by COVID-19. She is a New Yorker, but she moved to India. So I'm still staying true to my focus on New Yorkers who have been affected. So Liz, take it away. Tell us more about you.
Hello. So, yes, I live in New Delhi, India now, but I'm from New York. I have a background in fashion in New York City. I went to fashion school in New York. I lived there for 10 years, and I came to India 4 years ago to volunteer with an artisan NGO. I was supposed to stay for a month. I fell in love with the textiles, with the culture, with the people. I just thought it was so wonderful. And so for 3 years after that, I kind of split my time between New York and India, working in the fashion industry, freelance tech designer, and then I would come here and study the culture, textiles. I started to travel around and meet people and learn about how the clothes are made here. And then a little over a year ago, I thought I have to pick one. This is madness, like figuring my apartment situation out in Brooklyn and then figuring out where to stay in Delhi. And then I met my now husband on Tinder, and it all just kind of like came together where I moved in with him and started my business here, Spiatlo, and I've been doing that ever since.
So tell us a little bit more about your business. What do you do? I know you have been following the textile chain, right? Down to where it starts and how it gets produced. I believe that's what you do. But I do want to learn more for myself too, because it seems very interesting on Instagram, well, since I've been following you.
Yeah, so I have a fashion brand called Spiatlo, and what started as a curiosity kind of became an obsession with figuring out like connecting the dots between where does let's say where the cotton grows to where it's stitched and all those things in between and meeting people along that way. Like in 2016, I was able to go work on a cotton farm for a day and kind of experience how cotton is picked. And it's really difficult work. I mean, I don't think anyone ever said it wasn't, but when you really experience it, it's pretty incredible. And meeting people in stitching, seeing how the fabrics are woven. I mean, all of these different things, and then sharing that on Instagram and on my website. And now I'm even doing production consultation for other people who are abroad. And especially now that people are not able to get to India to be here with their production, I'm here on the ground to help them with sourcing, to help them make sure that their garments are technically correct and that the designs are the way they want them to be and that everything is running smoothly and on time. So it's a little bit of everything, but all fashion based.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for explaining that. I think that's fabulous. And especially now with all of this going on around us, I think, the fashion industry and the way that it runs will definitely be changing forever. We are so used to having this fast fashion, go buy this one day and then go buy another thing another day, or maybe even several times a day. I'm guilty of that too, because it's so available and
Yeah,
yeah. Right. So many different fashions are coming up so quickly that we are bombarded with the desire to buy, this mass production and everything. And as far as I know from my involvement in the fashion industry, this sort of mass production has come to a halt, especially from countries that they're importing from, like India, Bangladesh, China, of course. Um, People in the U.S. or companies, I should say, they're not even bringing those shipments in. They're just abandoning them. So Liz, I'm so glad you're talking to us about this whole sourcing issues too, where it's coming from and all of that. And you have seen all of it too, right? You go to these smaller shops where prints are being made, things are being made by hand, right?
yes, yes. A lot of different artisan techniques I visit. I don't like to purchase any fabric or recommend that any fabric be purchased until I actually go to a place. Like one time, somebody in Jaipur was telling me about, oh, I have this friend. He makes this fabric. Do you want to buy some? And I said, well, I'd like to go and meet this person and see how things are going. And this was 4 years ago at the beginning. And I got there and it was just the chemical smell was terrible. The people looked really sad. I mean, it was just one of those things where I thought I can't ever buy anything without seeing it. And luckily, close by, there was another place that was natural dyes and everything. And we were able to continue our work there. But it's really eye-opening when you see like somebody might say, oh, my place is, we're all compliant, but then they don't want you to go, or if you do go there, you see it's not. And so you start to be able to figure out where are the right places to buy from and who's doing, a great job of things. And COVID-19 is really exposing that, who is stepping up and taking the sustainable choice versus people who just like really want things to be the way they were and only care about profit, that sort of thing.
Right. So do you think people are moving more towards sustainable fashion? And I know that has been like a term that was really cool for the last 5 years at least. I've given talks on sustainable fashion for a while, in various parts of New York City. And also my law firm being right in the garment district, I come across fashion designers and fashion related businesses all the time. So do you think it's now moving towards a more sustainable future? And also, if you can also explain what sustainability means as far as fashion goes, that'll be great too.
Yeah, so I think that definitely we're moving in a good direction now. A lot of customers are really caring. Some people didn't even know to ask these questions about, like Fashion Revolution, who made my clothes, or where did this come from, or how much did somebody really get paid if my shirt was only $5? But now so much of this is getting exposed. And as we see on the news, garment workers in Bangladesh and in India en masse just being sent away to wherever because large companies like Kohl's, for example, cancel all their orders. Everybody that works at that factory the factory can't pay them. So sustainable fashion. At first, when we were introduced to it, we're thinking, oh, organic cotton and good for the environment. But then sustainability since then in the discourse has come to represent a holistic view of the entire production process. So if somebody is not being treated well at a factory or they're being not paid a living wage, that's not sustainable, not ethical. Because ethical and sustainable, they go hand in hand. If a fabric is, even if it's organic, if the price isn't correct and the person who's spinning it or whoever along the line is not getting paid appropriately, or if they're being treated badly, that's not sustainable. Human rights is a sustainability issue just as much as an organic fabric is a sustainability issue. And nothing is really perfect. I mean, have you heard of dead stock material?
Mm-hmm. I have.
Yeah.
For those who don't know,
the
do you want to explain it?
Absolutely. There are, like, for example, here in India and even in New York, there are mills or designers that they have extra fabric, and it's new fabric. It's not old, but it's still, you can recycle it by using it instead of it being thrown away. But if it's a synthetic and it's not going to biodegrade, then designers wonder, like, you're weighing things. Like, should I invest in this organic textile that will biodegrade, but it's a virgin textile? Do we need more textiles, or do I purchase this synthetic thing because it's already here? I don't have to make more, but at the end of the day, it's not, the life cycle is very linear. It's just going to sit in a landfill once somebody's done using it.
Right, right. Okay, so that's a good introduction on what we're dealing with as far as fashion goes. So now I want to talk to you about how you have been experienced COVID-19 in India. I know it's extremely different from how it's being treated here in the US, especially in the New York City area. So tell me about the mentality of people around you, if you're even able to talk to anyone. I don't know if you can in person, but how has the government reacted, and just your overall thoughts?
So the government as soon as COVID started to become an issue for everybody in early March, we were talking about it for like probably a week, oh, there's more cases now. For a long time, we only had like 3 cases in Kerala, and that's a southern state. And those were all from students that were evacuated from Wuhan, and they were thrown right into quarantine. They were treated right away, and then it never spread. And then we didn't have any cases for a long time. And then late February, early March, things started to kind of creep up, and we thought, oh, there's more cases, and it looks like maybe community spread has happened. And before we knew it, like the government on March 11th said, no more flights in, no more flights out, everybody's locked down, done, out of nowhere. And for people who had somewhere to lock down in, we thought, okay, you know what, this is good. they're helping. And I was seeing, my parents in the US like still going to work when there were like thousands of cases, and thinking, okay, this is good. But at the same time, slowly over time, we started to see like the laborers that I mentioned, a lot of them are migrants. So the ones that work in the deli factories, they are often from like a town, far away called Bihar. It's in another state, and or I believe Bihar is the state. Yeah, sorry, I'm still getting my India geography. But yeah, so a lot of people that they're not from here, like Mumbai, they're from Rajasthan. And all these people, all of a sudden, like they didn't have any work because the factory's closed. They live hand to mouth because they're day laborers, and they didn't have any, their landlords are still asking for rent. They couldn't afford rent. So you've got all of these hordes of people, massive amounts of people just out on the street, not knowing where to go, wanting to go home. And politicians were very rude about them, saying, oh, how dare these people put everyone at risk walking home? But didn't we all just want to be home?
Right.
And so then that was a major human rights issue that the government is finally now addressing. I think that was, other than that, it was really wonderful that they stopped things. It just, if only they would have thought of how to get these folks home too, then it would have been a great plan.
Right. I saw on news outlets, not our mainstream media in the U.S. because they tend to not focus too much on what's going on outside of the U.S. So I
Yeah.
was looking elsewhere doing my own research, and I saw, hordes of people just walking. And I've read that, people were actually dying from these long journeys because they were doing it by foot. They didn't have the money or resources like food or water to bring with them, and everything was already shut down. So there was no transportation for them to take. And also, from my understanding, the transportation, limited amount of transportation that was available would be too pricey for them to hire to take them to where they needed to go. So that was really, heartbreaking to watch. Here we were, in the U.S., in New York, New Jersey area, we could stay home, and we have our cars and we have our mass transportation that we don't even think about those things, so that's very fortunate for us, and I'm thankful, to have that luxury. But Liz, so now have you been in lockdown since our early March, or has it laxed a little bit? What's going on?
So yeah, we since shortly after March 22nd is when they said, okay, nobody can go anywhere. March 22nd was kind of like the first day of like complete, like after March 11th, people were slowly kind of not really going out, but then March 22nd, that was it. Like we stopped leaving. Only in the past few days have we started going out, just to like before during the lockdown. I'm trying to like put the Jays just run together. I'm sure everybody watching
Oh,
could
yeah.
totally relate to that. Like, but
I
there's
don't
like
even know
a
what month it is at this point. The other day I was like, is this April? Is this May, June? I don't know.
what day is it? I mean, you just
Yeah.
wake up and do the same thing every day. But yeah, only in this past weekend, things kind of lessened and parks opened. So we went to a park, but there was no one there because it's 100 degrees outside. And my husband said, come on, you really don't want to go. It's very hot. Like he's from Delhi. And I said, no, it's the summer. I have to get outside. I must get my vitamin D. Like I don't want a deficiency. And we went and we walked around for like 20 minutes and it was just terribly hot. So, but restaurants aren't open to go in, but you are able to order ahead and go pick it up outside and, take that away. So we could do that. We basically just took a drive just to take a drive, but otherwise things are more or less closed, only essential businesses.
Oh, so it is very similar to here. We could do curbside pickup or delivery for food, and I just got so tired of cooking so many different things all the time. I just started taking out. I am just tired of cooking. I can't do it anymore. Uh, so with that aside, on a more serious note, Liz, I know that something very personal to you in your personal life has happened over the last couple months, and you had big plans for it that had to be put aside due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we were set to have our big Indian wedding on March 22nd. This date was set a year ago when we decided to get married. And, my family, my friends, so many people had tickets to come here. We had, as traditional, we had like days of activities planned. And then after that, we had travel planned. Second is the big Indian wedding we had planned. And all of my so like my mom, my dad, my brother, cousin, a lot of friends were set to come for this like few days long wedding. And then after that, we had travel planned. We were going to go obviously to the Taj Mahal, to Jaipur. We were going south to Pondicherry, which is one of my favorite places. And it was just something I was looking forward to for so long, to finally show my family the country that I've fallen in love with. Because, you know, I had a corporate job in fashion in New York, and they regularly asked me, like, why would you leave this nice corporate job to go, you know, chase whatever you're chasing in India? And so I was really looking forward to showing them, like, here you go, this is it, this is why. And so when the visas were all canceled on March 11th, but the first person was set to arrive on March 16th, and then it was just going to go from there, like friends and relatives arriving. And of course, my husband has friends and relatives from Dubai, from Switzerland, and even the domestic people from like Mumbai and other cities were no longer able to come. And it just like, it was like a domino effect. Stuff just kept falling and falling. And it was really honestly devastating. We were really, really sad for that first week, but we got it together. We were able to still have the ceremony. We are rescheduling the party, so because my parents were able to put their tickets on hold, so they're still going to come. Mom is still going to wear her sari, and we're still going to party. But
That's awesome.
Yeah, we're really excited about that. The religious ceremony, we ended up doing a Facebook Live, so all the people that couldn't make it tuned in and, you know, dressed up, took selfies, posted them, watched our ceremony, and it was really actually quite beautiful. Like, and I feel a lot closer to my in-laws also now.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, and it's a once in a lifetime sort of memory. I think everyone's going to remember your wedding over someone else's traditional wedding anyway, because they had to do all of this, right? So there's a positive for that. Um, that's really great to hear, Liz, that, you know, even though you had all these restrictions, you were able to overcome them to the best of your abilities. So do you plan on coming back to the US at some point when all of this is over, or are you just staying in India for forever? Am I gonna
So
see you?
yeah, so in 6 days we had tickets on Air Japan, Japan Airlines, and we were supposed to have a layover in Tokyo, and then we were going to spend a month. Actually, our U.S. wedding, our church wedding, was scheduled for June 6th this year, which
Oh,
we just rescheduled it. Right, we were like June 5th next year. Already, the venue was available then.
mhm.
As of now, our venue, I think as of like 2 weeks ago, has already closed for the whole summer. So we were like glad we got on that early. But yeah, we had plans. Like we were going to do markets for Spiatlo. You know, I had some stockists I wanted to visit. I want to get her in some boutiques. We had big plans for the business. You know, Ashwat's never seen New York in the summer. In December was the first time he's ever been to the U.S., the first time he met my parents in person.
Mhm.
And New York in the winter is nice. Obviously, New York's the best place ever all the time. But especially in the summer, we were going to go to Central Park, you know, all that kind of thing you do in the summer. So pretty bummed that we can't do that now, but we'll reschedule for next year.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time and for joining us from all the way from India. Is there any parting words of advice you have, or words of wisdom, whatever you want to say to the audience who is watching you from their computers or their phones?
Yeah, actually, something that I realized lately, because I was starting to feel depressed and sad being stuck in lockdown, and, you know, then hearing about all the things that were happening out there. And I really had to take some time to just sit with myself in silence, whether you want to call it meditation or whether you want to just call it me time. I really found that just sitting and being in silence, no phone, no laptop, just reflecting on myself was really, really, really helpful. So anyone out there who's maybe feeling really sad, just give yourself some love like that. That's so helpful.
That's great advice, Liz. Thank you so much for that. I myself have been feeling so stuck and, you know, kind of helpless at times because you don't know what's coming. And I think as human beings, we kind of have that need to know what's going to happen next, at least to have an idea of what's going to happen next, because we like to plan. But as for now, I
Yeah.
think the best we can do is just to take each day at a time and see what we can do with that day, and just be happy in what we are given, because at least we're better off than a lot of the people that have been affected by this pandemic. And you know, it didn't turn out so well for them, unfortunately. So thank you so much. I hope to speak to you soon. And everyone, if you like this video, this interview, please do consider subscribing to this channel, because we are going to be bringing to you more interviews with entrepreneurs, obviously on different topics, not just COVID-19, because this is most likely the last episode of this series. So thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you. Bye.